Our panel discussion today is going to be on data security and also around the emerging trends of artificial intelligence and how innovation is kind of impacting data and security, utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning. We have a dynamic panel, and if I mispronounce your name, I apologize, so please bear with me. Next to me, we have Sampada Basakar. She is the Director of Engineering, Data, and AI Platform from IBM. We have, next to her is Rohanna Mead. She is the president and CEO and founding partner of Synergy Technical Sources. I believe you all do a lot of IT services for the government in all 50 states. And then we have Mia Champion, who is a technical portfolio and strategy leader at Amazon Web Services. So we have a very, very dynamic panel. And if you all could just briefly talk about your background and what your area of expertise, and then I'll get going. We also prepared a list of questions, and if some of the audience has some questions as well, we know AI is a very hot topic right now. So here we go.
Hi, everybody. So I've worn a couple of different hats while I've been at Amazon Web Services. I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary. And before my current role, I've also been a senior data scientist with our Machine Learning Solutions Lab. When I came into the business, I was also on the scientific computing team, growing our healthcare and life sciences research business, because before AWS, I spent many years as a research scientist, and I did bioinformatics and computational research. So I've researched genomes from cancer patients to patients that had developed MRSA. So I bring an interesting perspective from both science and IT.
Hi there. Again, my name is Rohanna Mead. Call me Ro. Everyone does. I have been with Synergy Technical for about 8 years now. We'll be 9 years old in November. I refer to myself as a recovering CIO. I spent many, many years as a CIO before I moved into the CEO role. Do not have a degree in technology. My background is accounting, but very, very useful in a CEO role, and happy to be here.
My name is Sampada Basarkar. I've been with IBM for about 10 years now. I manage engineering and support at IBM for their data and AI platform.
Okay, our first question is, and I think all of you all can address it. Given the growth to data, artificial intelligence, and security over the past couple of years, which technology roles have you all seen in terms of growth in the areas that are really needed right now?
So technology is permeating in pretty much every single industry these days. And data is continuously growing. In the last 5 years, we've generated so much data. So analyzing that data, securing that data, making sure that we are able to get some insights from that data is becoming very critical. So the roles that I've seen mostly are around data engineers, so engineers who can sort of connect and manage that data. I've seen roles around data stewardship to be able to sort of govern that data, to make sure that people who do not have access to that particular data is not given access to that data. And of course, analyzing the data, driving insights from the data. So the roles that I've seen grow in the last couple of years, where companies are hiring more and more, are data engineer roles, data stewards, data scientists, business analysts. And if you think about the leadership roles also in that area, sort of the the CXOs, chief experience officers or chief security officers or chief data officers. So these are the roles that have been growing in the last few years now.
I would say what we see the biggest lack of in the industry are security professionals. There's so much data out there, and it's quite frankly too easy to get to. With all of the security regulations, you get GDPR, the regulations that will go into effect next year in California. People who have the technical skills to understand how to secure that data are just not around. So I would say that's the biggest thing that we're looking for.
I would say plus one to some of the things that we've already heard. We've definitely seen a growth in demand for data scientists, particularly machine learning data scientists and AI. We've seen demand as well for security specialists. I think emerging will be security experts that have expertise in blockchain technologies. Another area at Amazon Web Services, we have 175 services that we provide on our platform. It's not just compute instances and databases. That's a really complex ecosystem of resources for people to digest and know how to set up and architect using our recommended best practices. And so I would say another role would be a cloud architect is very much a role that we've seen in demand.
Thank you. So basically, you all are saying that the need for more security professionals, cloud engineers, and data engineers. Are there any particular future roles for AI, artificial intelligence, that you all are seeing, or possibly that IBM or Amazon AWS is looking for, or Synergy Technical? Can you all share that?
So in terms of thinking about the future, I think, obviously machine learning is going to continue to be in demand. I think that just about every company that we talk to and they talk about their use cases, ML comes up. But something that's going to, I think, become even more important as well is interpretable ML. And that is integrating and developing approaches that allow us to understand how the predictions were being made. So there's a lot of tools that are being developed and methodologies that are being developed right now just to be able to be transparent and communicate to the end user. If we give you a prediction, how we can also describe to you the feature importance that was used to make that prediction, or we can let you know whether the training data contained a representation of different genders, different races. So all of that is going to become very important as we start realizing that the ethical applications of ML are going to obviously impact us all, and approaches that will help us improve upon that will become more and more important.
So to add to what was being said by Mia here, one of the other areas that we've seen tremendous growth and demand is governance of models. So let's say you've created AI models. You want to make sure that the AI models that are being used are governed in a way such that what data was being used, to create those models. So for instance, the lineage, understanding the lineage. And of course, as Mia said here, sort of drift detection. So let's say if the data changes over time, and the data could change over time for many reasons, understanding that there is drift in the model, those are the areas that are becoming very popular, and those are the areas where we're seeing a lot of demand in terms of understanding the technology, especially AI and ML, and making sure that besides ethical AI, you also look at bias detection and make sure that you have the right data sample that you're using, and eventual drift detection.
Well, go ahead.
So I feel nowadays the data science, machine learning, AI has become so much of a buzzword. I myself, as a software engineer, I get confused on what is what, differentiate between it. Underlying is data, as you said, everything is data. In your own words, how do you define a connection between all these three, or what do you feel about it? It's so much popular, so much of a buzzword. So I just want to know, how do you define it?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, what she's saying is that, data, AI, and security, well, data, AI, and machine learning is such a buzzword. What are some of the underlining, how do both of those functions, how do they interact, and what is the real job? Is that correct? How do they coexist?
Okay.
So, Mia, can you?
Sure.
Okay.
So that's true. It does feel like it's become such a buzzword. And as I mentioned, a lot of companies are saying that they want to do ML, but then you have to really dig in with them to understand what they want as their business outcome and if it really does require ML or just like statistics, right? So in the case where we're thinking about at least our services that we offer, machine learning is where you're making some kind of prediction, right, based on the data, whereas AI is something that is mimicking actual human cognitive skills. An example of that is that we provide many services, for example, that power Alexa, right, or mimic human speech. We have text-to-speech translator services. We have the reverse services. We have, so those types of higher level natural language processing and speech recognition or translation tools can be thought of more as on the AI level of applications, whereas other tools that and services that we provide, like SageMaker, for example, that provides an end-to-end machine learning workflow that's available to people without even expertise in machine learning. Makes it accessible to everybody, right? So it provides a whole library of models, and you can pull in your data from your data source and run an algorithm on it and get a prediction. And
Okay. So this leads us into our next discussion. I think both Mia and, am I pronouncing it? Salvador. One of the areas that's come up about artificial intelligence is diversity and inclusion, which has been at the forefront. And, what is the impact of diversity and inclusion in artificial intelligence? And I'll be very specific. As we all know, most of the developers for a lot of these robotic solutions are men. So how is the area of unconscious bias being addressed through artificial intelligence? And then I want to kind of discuss some of the sensitive areas of AI, such as hiring, how it's being used in criminal justice reform, healthcare, as well as how is it achieving fairness, particularly when women in technology, women in cloud are still having a lot of challenges. So, Roanna, do you want to start? Or okay. Thank you.
A long question. So I think we have to be really careful, and I'll be the first to say that my organization is primarily young white males. And that's unfortunate, but it's the reality of what we have to recruit from in the tech community. I think we have to make sure that unconscious bias doesn't apply. I can give you a very real example, and it's long before AI was ever a thing or machine learning was a thing. The very reason that I go by the name Ro is because when I was very early getting out into the world, early career, my name is Rohana. I have a very ethnic name. And so what would happen is my resume could easily get moved off of the stack. So my concern around AI and machine learning is more that we don't have those unconscious bias lead to outcomes like mine, where I decide I'm going to shorten my name and call myself Ro so people don't realize that I have an ethnic first name. So I'm a bit biased in that myself.
So I think that, we have to be careful that that fear does not prevent us from driving innovation forward, and realize that there's a lot of good things that AI is being used for in healthcare, to find children that are in sex trafficking rings. There's all kinds of great use cases that I could talk about from our customers at Amazon Web Services. Now, the misuse though of AI is a very real concern, and it's something that we're also extremely concerned with. And I think that to combat the misuse or prevent misuse, we have to, of course, be very inclusive in not only the creation of the technology, but also in how it's created. So I already mentioned, ensuring data sets and training that include different races, different genders. I mentioned I come from the healthcare industry. This is very reminiscent of the early days of drug development, where only men were the ones that were being tested for. So we still have issues with many drugs that were developed many years ago, that they're figuring out their true efficacy for women and children. And so including all of the diversity in the data points as the technology is being developed is also very key. And then also working with our legislative bodies to be sure that as a community, we put some guardrails in place to try to prevent the misuse of the technologies that we're developing.
So I just +1 to what you just said, but the other thing I also wanted to add was most companies these days are global companies, and they're looking for talent all over the world. So essentially, when we look at diversity and inclusion, we shouldn't be just looking at a heterogeneous population, a male or a female. We should also be looking at data from different countries, because the behavior, the requirements from different countries could be quite different, So as was being said earlier, the data that you use to train the models has to be the data set that is representative of different regions. It's representative of different areas, where the behaviors are going to be different. And that's where we are going to be able to get this inclusivity, because especially in terms of hiring, right? You can find great candidates who are Asian, non-Asian. So you want to make sure that your models are not biased just because of a heterogeneous population here. So that's one area I wanted to just point out.
Okay. I just found out recently that Microsoft has a dedicated group within their AI group that monitors unconscious bias in some of their AI development programs. Does IBM or AWS have something similar? And then, Ro, are you getting requirements from your clients to advise on how to address those issues with so much AI innovation right now? So if we could address that.
So our practice is primarily security focused. We do work with a lot of highly regulated industries, a lot of DoD contractors, government agencies, areas that are very regulated.
Okay.
So I don't know that we necessarily get that requirement. Our requirement is more addressing the human factor, because the single biggest risk in security is actually a human being. So really, that's the requirement that we would get.
Okay.
So I can say that we have developed multiple sort of channels of trying to help us better develop our services to avoid, unconscious bias and other risks, as well as help our customers when they're using the services to control for that. And so we have a whole set of resources for following AWS recommended best practices of how do you actually use our services, design your machine learning experiments to enable you to get the predictions that would avoid unconscious biases. We publish white papers, we have blogs, we have many different resources that we provide to customers that outline, the guidelines and the recommended methods for doing that. We also have set up a specific ticketing system, if you will, messaging system that's available to the community. I can give you the address if you're interested. You can come up to me afterwards. But it was set up specifically so that if someone wants to report a misuse of any of our technologies, you can actually let us know if you're aware of something, one of our services that's being used in an unethical way. And so we have set that up for the community.
So I'll just point out that even at IBM, we have processes and practices in place that look at both conscious and unconscious bias. And we use AI and ML. Everyone probably has heard of Watson already.
Yeah.
So we use AI and ML very aggressively to make sure that all of the conscious and unconscious biases, especially in terms of hiring and in the processes, are being taken care of. And as a result, IBM is a very inclusive company.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're gonna kind of have to wrap this up right now. Did anyone in the audience, did they have any more questions? Okay, over here, I know you have a question. Yes? Yeah.
I'm just going to go off on a tangent. So I want to ask about quantum computing. So how significant is the breakthrough Google had with the quantum computing, especially because you're working with IBM? And we have all the debate about IBM saying that the problem that they solved is not actually significant, and the supercomputer IBM has can solve it in like 2 weeks or something. So is the breakthrough gonna have any like relevant changes with the security scene?
Absolutely. I truly believe that there will be some breakthroughs because of quantum computing in security as well as in AI. IBM clearly was like the first company to sort of release quantum computing. And I think every company will have their own trajectory, especially large companies in terms of the quantum computing. But quantum computing will be the future, in the next decade.
Okay.
Just from the AWS. So we also provide a quantum computing resources. And I think that, we have a shared responsibility model of security where we protect the operating system, the virtualization layer, the physical location where the compute hardware is located, but it's always the customer's responsibility to ensure that they are keeping their applications secure. And in saying that, though, we do a lot to help customers achieve their security. And we provide a tremendous amount of training and continuous outreach to our customers to provide them with the recommended best practices so that they can be sure that they're doing that. And we'll do that for our quantum computing release just as we do for all of our other services.
Okay. Well, I want to really thank Sampata Basakara, the Director of Engineering, Data, and AI Platform at IBM, Ro Smead, the CEO and founding partner of Synergy Technical, and Mia Champion, Technical Portfolio and Strategy Leader at Amazon Web Services. If you want to talk with the ladies after the panel, they will be around. And thank you so much
to Medina for
you're
moderating
welcome.
it and coming up with all of it. Good. All right. Thank you all. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.